Welcome to Project Hail Mary, by far the best novel anyone's ever written in science fiction. Andy Weir has outdone himself, and now he has an impossibly high standard to work against. I always thought The Martian was already an impossibly high standard, but Project Hail Mary, dang, does that thing go ahead and destroy every kind of category I could think of in science fiction. If The Martian itself was the revitalization of pure science and regular science, Project Hail Mary goes that a step further. Instead of going to the moon or Mars or let's say any part or any other society on Earth, we're going to have to go ahead and carry the time all the way until for displays 40 days later. That's just not worth it. Now, before I go ahead myself, let me explain to you what Project Hail Mary is. Project Hail Mary itself is a book by Andy Weir, and in the series, Project Hail Mary is exactly the number of times that you go ahead and make someone pissed off and things like that. What's happening here? Why are they all in the galaxy? Why are they not at the sun? Why are they not at the moon? Or at any other planet for that matter? Why are they not at Sol? Why are they not at Mars? Why are they at home uploading these things? Well, it's mostly because we are the ones who created all this, and that they're the ones who recorded, acted, and filmed, and created a bunch of scripts for. Project Hail Mary went ahead and tapped into that undirected potential for a very, very long time. Now, let me describe to you what the Hail Mary is. Now, the Hail Mary itself in regular sports is when you go ahead and go to the fun parts of the edges of the field, and then someone goes ahead and shouts at you, new or preve, and then the rate is going to become 1.67. Nothing else, nothing dramatic. Now, with this project, we're going to go ahead and maybe have the life of the entirety of the Earth on stake, and that we might have the entirety of the proudness of it to be done. So there's this little microbe called astrophage that's eating away at the sun, and at the rate that they're eating away at the sun is that by the end of like a few years, 10% of the sun's dimness, like the light, will be coming into the visible spectrum, and none of that will work here. Whereas the Martian itself is getting a bunch of these happening over and over again, that eventually in life that they just gave them all together and decided to just write things down. And we get to meet an alien! Very, very different from an average Andy Weir story, isn't it? And then with Andy Weir telling us everything about the virus and the things about our Andy Weir going ahead and describing and seeing and prospering throughout their lives, such and such. But Andy Weir himself goes ahead and doesn't care about all those technical details as much as he probably would want to. He would go ahead and try to make all them ready, steady, and production correct. As a result, we're back on the Challenger and we're going to Conrad. Now, Project Hail Mary itself sucks, and I have no idea and no intention of going ahead and defending my beliefs. But that's just my opinion. It's next to ignorant question. So, the Andy Weir himself created this idea of Project Hail Mary from where, do you think? Probably from someone's tunnel, or probably something from when he was looking inside a pen's guides on the lines of that. Project Hail Mary, compared to the other two books in the Andy Weir series, it's the miracle, it's the pinnacle of creation. Mostly because, as mentioned earlier, he goes to a different solar system, completely different from ours. That's like several light years away, and then he's expected to go ahead and go on a suicide mission, which he obviously isn't going to take. He loves it. Come on, it isn't as straightforward as you said it would be. We need to get up and running either way now. It has to be handy in or now, and nothing ever goes ahead and tells us if it's in or not in now. What else can we go ahead and talk about the Project Hail Mary itself? It's the Hail Mary. The astrophage itself, the space amoeba that goes ahead and kills our cores, everything, that is all deleted, and that nothing exists except our voiceovers and such. Number two is the fact that he is a savior. He is allegedly a savior of the entire of the classroom, but then that isn't going to work out anyway. So what are we going to do? Our sun is dying, and then we found another sun that for some reason isn't dying, even though it has the exact same conditions as us. What do we do in this situation? We're going to send a bunch of humans to volunteers to that site, and that they are going to search through everything everywhere. And if they find something that doesn't belong on this, you can go ahead and consider Project G cancel, and that he will return with us to the registration form immediately. What else can I say about Project Hail Mary without going ahead and spoiling the entire thing? Well, Project Hail Mary itself is a Hail Mary. They're doing a Hail Mary, like a long shot to go ahead and try to score some points towards humanity's side, and they're trying to go ahead and get themselves less than 80%, so that at least you can go ahead and ask this guy. And just for funsies, here we go. Here is Project Hail Mary, the Korean version. It even has a way better cover. So I like the fact that our cover itself, the one that I own and technically the one you bought, has a different texture. So I'm super glad that that's the case, mostly because this book would have been a pain in the butt to read. And what else do we get here? Nothing. That's it. Andy Weir himself just designed this band for him to be part of the part where he goes ahead and sends everyone their stuff, and that he will be the deliverer, aka he would be able to experience his own courses himself, but other than that, nothing is going to happen. So, how does Project Hail Mary compare with the other parts? Nothing at all. It is incredible at all. It's incredible in the sense of how it's able to balance perfectly between the present memory and the past memory that's coming in as he goes through his present memory. We even get to be able to see his face break down entirely because of it, and because he's able to go ahead and see someone's particles break down entirely because of it, that means it can be translated and it can be sniffed out, and it can also be combined and put together to use by these three ministers. We even get to meet aliens, an alien, hypothetical aliens too, where they can't see and they use echolocation to go ahead and find their prey and things. That makes sense too, because the place where he comes from, there's 40 tons of atmospheric nitrogen, and no light can go through any of that kind of stuff in the atmosphere, so nothing here is going to work here. Project Hail Mary itself is a suicide mission, and I enjoy and I highly respect the fact that these people have joined this too, even if they've been joined in the opposite direction, and even if it meant going the other way than you for now. What do I mean by that? You figure that out yourself. And one more thing that I want to point out about Project Hail Mary is the idea of evolution that it gave. Now, not all life needs water apparently, but like most life and all human life and Earth life definitely need water. But why do aliens need water? That's one of the few things that we actually go ahead and look for whenever we start looking for aliens. We start to look for traces for water. So far, we have no traces for water at all found, and we have found traces of water on Mars, but they're all frozen, and obviously fire doesn't exist in Mars, so how are we going to get it off? That's the kind of thing that we can talk about. Same thing happened to evolution. We asked the same questions but about evolution, and we ended up on this ideal terms. That we would go ahead and figure out whether if we were smart, we would return these back to them. But if they figured out that they were dumb, then we would have to go ahead and do this later. One more part. Evolution. Evolution goes ahead inside Project Hail Mary, suggests that all of life has originated from source of astrophages. Astrophages themselves are just simpler versions of mitochondria. So is that even possible? Yes, certainly, very, very possible. And that all this is happening will sooner or later be determined. The best part of Project Hail Mary, though, is the fact that at the end, in the end, after our protagonist himself decides to save our alien life form from dying from a leak, decides to start living on the alien life form's living planet. It's a living planet, and he will be able to go ahead and live in there for a very, very long time before he's forced to move out. Maybe all of evolution originated from one common ancestor, the astrophage in this case. The astrophage itself is the seed of all life. Why is it trying to take away that life? Because it has nothing to do with your own life. It's an incredible fate. In the sense that our Andy Weir himself decides to write our protagonist to go ahead and start teaching a bunch of children is, interestingly enough, because that's the only species that I have been able to go ahead and opaque and pay a visit to. Nothing else more that I can really tell you, though. You can go ahead and pray for the goodness and the fact that we might be able to survive this entire trip with Trigger. And the next time that you do a Hail Mary, whether it's figurative or whether it's literal in the sense that you're actually throwing a Hail Mary football, then you're going to be very, very disappointed. So go read Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary, compared to Artemis, obviously Project Hail Mary is the winner here. It has more details, has a male protagonist, has to try everything it can before we finally get to acknowledge how good it really was. It really was, wasn't it? In the end, we're all just human beings. Some of us selfish, some of us wanting to help others. Some of us just don't absolutely care how we're supposed to do any of this. He just does it and wings it. And that is the review of Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. I will say, though, the movie itself is a downer. The book itself has better details, has an even better ending. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of 100 Shot. Until next time, Shiano, peace. Bye bye.